So when we understand the completed model of the human species, which is a wonderful event for humanity, and finally we can now, with this book, Completed Model of the Human Species, we can now understand it. We kind of understand that it's our job to regulate all these aspects of our species. Previously, when we were a part of a natural system, these things were regulated within that. And in my book, I explain how they're regulated within it and why, and the purpose they serve. And I explain when we kind of left stopping a natural system and why, and it's pretty obvious. But when we understand, okay, so now it's up to us to regulate all these things that used to be integrated parts of natural systems, like what, for example, physiological disease. Used to be a very regulated and important part of how natural systems operate. Organizational disease, territory, population, diet, food supply, sex and sexuality, lots of things really, and again, I get into it, but now we understand we must regulate these things now. We must take responsibility for it and figure out how to regulate it. And that's really, so I wrote the Completed Model, and that's why it explains that. And then I wrote several other books after that, to kind of just say, okay, well, let's take a look at how we might regulate some of these things. What's a sensible approach? Like The Monsters Among Us is really about organizational disease and organizational hygiene and anti-tyrannical measures and so on to address that. Standard Enlightened Diet just talks about diet. Blissful Sex and Relationship is just a book about some ideas about how to manage sex and sexuality appropriately, and just read them or just do it any way you want. That's not regulation. That's not thinking, is this a healthy way for me and for everybody else in my community and for the whole population to regulate it? And then I wrote Territory. It talks about population diversity, all these things. Some ideas about maybe we need to manage these things. So we need to take responsibility and manage all these things and talk about them and figure it out, And that's really, when you're aware of the completed model, you have a better insight as to what, potentially, the purpose, and one of the purposes of your life could be to contributing to working together and collaborating to regulate all these different aspects of our species, so that we create well-being, harmony, balance, and all these things. Because the default is disease and decay. If we don't regulate them, so we need to do that, take responsibility for it, and actively figure. And some of the stuff it's straightforward, and some of the stuff we need to figure out. How are we going to collaborate? How are we going to work together to do this? What are the things that are already in place to help us, and so on. But that is the beauty of that. One of the beautiful things about that book is it fundamentally changes our consciousness, changes how we understand ourselves in the world, and how we can operate in the world. It gives us purpose and focus and connection to each other, and a common thing to work towards. And this is very good stuff, very nice, very positive. So I recommend you check out the book and join in this endeavor.